Can you hear the silence? Can you see the dark? Can you fix the broken? Can you feel? Can you feel my heart? Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden.
And this is the live audio on the Holding Screen podcast.
Yeah, it turns out we were recording. Luckily, we didn't insult any of the listeners, you know?
Yeah, I don't
Which is
think
what
so.
we normally like to do leading up.
Immediately prior to the show.
Yeah, we normally like to really insult them, kind of just talk shit about them, and then go live and we're your best friend again. But we didn't do that this time.
Not today, luckily. We just talked about lyrics, I think. I hope. Christ. Who knows? Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast, the last episode before we go to the other side of the world, something which has been impossible for 99.9% of anybody who ever existed. So what a privilege. What a privilege. And to go there for our art, our passion, our creativity. What an opportunity.
What an opportunity to spend $6,000.
Oh, easy, because my flights were more than $3,000. Then there's some accommodation, and then obviously everything that I spend, everything I spend in terms of like everything you eat, right? Everything you eat, everything you drink, any time you catch a train or a bus or an Uber or anything. It's just all money for the whole time. So I'm thinking $6,000 easy.
Huge opportunity to spend $6,000 on your credit card.
Yeah.
No, it's but it is good. I am excited. I tell you what, man, it is stressful.
Yeah.
It is stressful trying to organize everything in a short space of time when you have other things to do.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's not like, hey, I'm just going to take a month off and concentrate on this thing. It's like, hey, I'm essentially taking a week off. And I have to do everything around this to kind of, and that's the thing. Travel has changed. There's a lot of rules and regulations now. You know, there's a lot of COVID policies. You know, and who has what policy, and is it do you need a COVID document, or does your passport cover it? If you're fully vaccinated, what do you need to do? What happens? How many boosters have you had? You know, all this stuff is now.
And can you prove it?
And how can you prove it? And you need this document, and you got to scan this QR code, and all this sort of thing. And you're kind of just looking on the websites and these embassies, and you're like, well, it says it's okay, so I really hope that it is. You know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's actually not too bad for us. So I was looking at, how to figure all that out. And basically what it comes down to is because we're from the greatest country in the world, New Zealand, they just walk us right in everywhere we go. Well, maybe not you with your passport situation, but me with my Kiwi passport, they just walk me right in. I've got a vaccine pass on my phone, an international vaccine pass, because I've had my 3 jabs, jab. And that's it. That's really all I require. What the big problem for me is 32 hours worth of travel wearing a mask, because you've got to wear your mask on the plane. And that's like...
Well, do you have to wear your mask on every plane?
I'm pretty sure. Like I did last time for Tokyo. It was a little bit earlier in the pandemic.
That's what I'm saying. The rules are really slackened up.
Well... not in New Zealand. Like all the planes I've been catching domestically, it's like you've got to wear the mask. They everybody's wearing the mask, and they're kind of regularly mentioning it in the over the intercom and all that. Keep your fucking mask on. And so I'm not sure about that. Maybe, but I feel like Emirates, which is what we're flying, or Emirates and Qantas, both reputable airlines. I feel like both of those are going to be enforcing mask. Don't know if they're mandates or not, but mask rules. So 32 hours. Every now and then you got to pop it down and drink a little bit of water, and pop a little cracker in your mouth or something, and that's it. Last time I was traveling, when I was flying back from Tokyo, I was doing my best to not, rest my head against too many things. For example, I got lucky. I got some seats next to me, and I was like, obviously I need to lie down. And after many hours of resisting the urge of putting my face on the seat where thousands of bums have farted before me, thousands of COVID-y bums have farted before me. I had 3 seats, right? How can you resist lying down? And so I lie down, and just over time, it just slowly went, you know, from sort of staying away, keeping my face off it, to eventually just smushing my face right up against.
Oh, kissing it.
Just smushing my face right up against that farty cushion. Just that farty cushion, and just
Well, you had a pillow,
yeah,
didn't you?
and just loving it too a little bit. Well,
You could have used your pillow.
well, I did have a pillow, but it wasn't mine. It was my flatmate's, and it was a funny shape. It was a funny shape, silky pillow, and it kept on slipping out. And so eventually,
What about the pillow they issue you?
They didn't give me. I don't remember having a little pillow. Maybe I certainly don't remember having a proper pillow. Maybe I did. I wore my Ugg boots as well, because that's what you do nowadays when you're a man who's knocking on 40, who's traveling internationally. I packed my Ugg boots purely so that I could put them on once I got on the plane, and when I went to the toilet and stuff like that, I was just walking around the plane in my Ugg boots, my fucking pajamas.
Well, there's definitely some travel tips to be aware of if you're traveling. And in fact, I've just run into another expenditure, which is that... So if you're traveling and you're flying and you up in the air 30,000 feet, there's a constant aircraft noise, which is just a... It's constant, right? It's absolutely constant. And it's really annoying when you're trying to sleep.
You need to get a buzz track if you were filming
Right?
there.
Yeah, when you're trying to watch movies on the plane, like basically anything you want to do, it's actually quite distracting. And yes, your brain does tune it out, but why tune it out? Get yourself some noise cancelling headphones. Now, noise cancelling headphones for me were a
Let
real
them tune it out.
revelation, because it's like I could put them on to help me sleep, and I could put them on to tune out the noise when I was watching a movie, and they were just like super beneficial. Now my noise cancelling headphones, I've just like how the leather gets really worn, because it's not real leather, it's vinyl or something, and it gets real worn, it starts to peel everywhere, and basically then you put it on and you get black dandruff debris just kind of going everywhere, and I was like, can I deal with that? Like with my old version, or do I now have to buy a new noise cancelling headphones for this trip? It's like, I won't pay for extra seat space.
No.
I'll be jammed up like a sardine in a can.
Yeah.
But I need my noise cancelling headphones now.
Yeah.
But now I've had them, I realize how good they are.
Yeah.
So
I think you're just going to have to suck it up and have some black dandruff on you. Just don't wear a white shirt.
Well, yeah, I might do that, but
But you really want those new headphones.
yeah.
So you just that justifies
probably,
that.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
justifies. This is an excuse. This justifies the excuse.
But they are expensive, and I've just spent money on so I'm stopping in London. I've spent money just on the flight from London to Amsterdam. Obviously, it cost me a certain amount of money to get from Heathrow Airport to my grandma's where I'm staying. That's like 3 trains plus an Uber. So that in itself is going to be quite taxing. Then I paid for an extra 2 nights at the place where we were staying.
3 trains with all your baggage and everything. So you're going to have your luggage with your camera gear in it and all that, and you'll be riding the fucking tube in London
After
with
31 hours of traveling,
looking like such a tourist as well. Like they'll be like, look at that guy. He's definitely got everything he owns in that bag.
So my 31
Let's take it.
My 31 hours of travel is actually going to be like 34 hours of travel by the time I actually get to my destination.
Well, you've also got to factor in the fact that you've got to be at the airport 2 hours before your flight in Auckland, and you've got to get out.
I actually thought it was 3 hours.
I thought it was 2. I guess I better find out before Wednesday when I fly.
Double check that.
But I thought it was 2 hours. But yeah, so you've got to be there 2 hours beforehand, and you've got to get there somehow. Probably an Uber or someone's
an Uber, because everyone's at work.
Exactly. So I've got to Uber as well, unless my mate Guy gives me a ride on Wednesday. At approximately, I've got to be there. If it's 2 hours beforehand, then it'll be 1:35 p.m. I need to be there by.
Right.
So you go,
When's your flight out?
3:35.
Okay,
3:35 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
NZST.
Yeah. So, and we're splitting up. We're going divergent ways.
Yeah. So we're flying separately, because I'm going to Madrid and you're going to London, and we're meeting in Amsterdam. So we're flying separately, but then we're returning together, which I think is a bit of an analogy for our friendship. We're flying separately, but returning together, something like that.
Jared on the live stream asks, what headphones are you getting? Well, I don't know because I'm trying to keep it really I'm trying to hit the $200 mark. Really, I like less than $200 mark. But you go under $200, they stop noise cancelling anymore. They just they let in the noise still.
But what about, like, I don't like to wear them while I'm sleeping because I end up, they're digging into my ears and I end up kind of just...
Well, that's what your neck pillow is there for.
Yeah.
So that's the other big...
But then you're going to have your mask strings behind your ears and then your headphones over that pressing it into your ears.
Well, speaking of mask strings, I got some of the proper... so there's all this research on what masks are actually effective, right?
Yeah.
All right, both for preventing you breathing on people and preventing breath coming in from people.
Yeah.
And what they say is basically the normal masks that we all wear, the surgical masks, don't really do... Like, they do something, but they don't do that much.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they protect the people around you.
Yeah.
But they don't protect you.
They're basically semi-effective, right? But what are very, very effective are these, I can't remember what they are, like they're basically the painter's masks, right? And I was like, cool, I'll get me a couple of those painter's masks for my travel. They're too good.
Yeah.
So I put one on, right?
Couldn't breathe.
And I was like, okay, yeah, this is snug. This is good. I feel like it's really blocking lots of particles right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, but every time I'd breathe, because the breath would stop, the breath would stop going out, it would go up into my eyes.
Eyeballs, yeah.
So I was just breathing into my eyeballs, and I was like, 30 hours of this. 30 hours. Think I might go back to my surgical mask. Think I might go back to the surgical mask. Yeah, that's what I'm. But that mask thing, like, it's an endurance thing because I've worn a mask for 12 hours on a filming day. That's tough, right? The sweat really starts to because this is where all the heat escapes, right? But now you've got this mask on, so you're just gonna start beading bits of sweat across. You're gonna get that lip sweat, that old lip sweat. And that's 30 hours. It's a long time with the respite of a few snacks in between. But of course, there is a great way around it, Harley.
What's that?
Just keep ordering drinks.
Yeah.
You can drink. You have to have your mask off to drink. So you're like, I'll have another beer, please.
But it defeats the purpose of the whole point of buying the expensive ones that protect you, though. You might as well buy the cheap ones and not wear it so you can drink. Yeah.
But I mean, either way, if you want to avoid wearing your mask for 30 hours, just order like 15 drinks, have that broken up by your 3 meals. Yeah. You're away laughing. You never really wore the mask.
Yeah. But are they comfortable?
What?
These ones, apart from the eyeballs, are they too tight? Because that's the problem. My big problem is my giant head is a big problem for me.
They're actually better because they go around your head as opposed to attaching to the back of your ears. Yeah. So that means that it's there's less sore on your ears. Yeah. So they're actually better. Yeah. But like I said, I won't be wearing my mask. I'll just be drinking throughout the whole way.
Drinking that free Emirates piss. That free Emirates booze.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, also here's some tips for travelers, right? Two tips for travelers, okay? Now, if you don't ask, you will not receive. So sometimes you think you're going to be polite, right? And you're going to be like, look, I'll just wait for them to come around and offer me drinks.
It's not how it works.
Guess what? You're in the sardine class, or we are, so they're not offering drinks to you most of the time. They're offering drinks to the people up the front, right? They don't care about you. You're garbage. You're garbage in the back, right? Yeah. So, but they have to bring you a drink every time you ask for one, within reason, of course.
Within reason, unless they designate you to be intoxicated, unless they decide you're intoxicated.
Yeah. So, but that means that you just have to keep hitting that buzzer. Don't be polite about it. Just don't be afraid to hit that buzzer. Get yourself another beer and just quietly sip away, maskless. Yeah. It's a great strategy. Yeah. Also, my other big tip is always book yourself an aisle seat. Yeah, you want to sit by the window? Good for you, son. Yeah. But the truth is, you're going to be getting up 50 times to pee
after
because
of
all the beers.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? What do you want to make the most of free booze, maskless, and be in the aisle, or sit against the window trapped by someone snoring next to you? Yeah. Desperate for a piss, didn't get any beers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, look, you're right, mate. You're absolutely right. I'm more of an aisle man myself. The only issue with the aisle on the long haul is that you're falling asleep and then people start getting up to go to the toilet and they're constantly brushing their big fat ass against your elbow or something. If you accidentally end up kind of like scooching over towards the person in the middle aisle, in the middle seat, just to stop people from whacking into you. So, yeah, we got... that's this is good tips, Guy. Good tips.
I've got lots of tips because I made the mistake, and I think we talked about it on the podcast. But last time I was flying back, I had this horrifying realization that I was in the window seat, and I'd forgot to change my seat. And then I sat there and I was like,
well, did you choose your seat this time?
Yeah, so I chose.
So you
my
paid
seats.
extra?
No, it's free.
Well, it wasn't free for me. They were like trying to charge me like hundreds of dollars, basically. They were like, "Do you want to select your seat?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll take this one." And
Did you do
like,
it through
"That's
Qantas
$29." I think I did it through the website that I booked through. Maybe I need to go to the Emirates website.
Go to Emirates website. Yeah. Do it for free, mate.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a hoon on that.
So no, I booked all my seating. Most of my seating that I could. Sometimes it doesn't let you.
Yeah, well...
But then if you get to the counter, you can go, excuse me, could I potentially just get a seat on the aisle? And 99% of the time, they'll be like, yeah, sure, there you go.
No problem.
So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't suggest paying for it.
No. I wanted to choose, but they were going to charge way too much. It was... a shit one was like $29. A good, a still shit one, but slightly better was like $60 or something like that. And I was like, I'm catching like 8 flights or something. I can't be paying $30 or $50 per flight for a seat. They're going to give me a seat anyway.
I asked for the guy on the aisle to swap with me.
Yeah.
And he goes,
no.
He goes, oh, no, that's all right. And I was like, that's all fucking right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. He's like me.
Yeah, he knows.
He's like me. He's got to get up. He's going to be getting up 50 times. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Didn't get up once.
Yeah.
Just fucking sat there blocking everyone else.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy.
Yeah.
If you're not planning, so I get it if you're planning on moving.
Yeah.
If you're not planning on moving, just sit by the window. Yeah, you can lean against the thing. There's like benefits to the window if you're not a mover.
Yeah. Plus, like, I feel like you're less likely to catch COVID by the window because you're less close to people who are walking past. You're less close to most people on the plane.
Well, COVID wasn't a factor, obviously, in this man's choice because it didn't exist back then.
I see. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, when I was sitting there just watching him, like just, not getting up and me busting to go to the toilet and couldn't order my beers that I wanted. Yeah. I was like, never again. Never again, guy.
Yeah.
Never again. Don't pick your seat.
Yeah. Lesson learned. Well, I'm about to find all that out the hard way, I'd say. But I did get a recent upgrade, not for this particular journey, but one of my employers has paid for my Koru Lounge, Air New Zealand Koru Lounge membership for a year. And so I'm going to be flying like a prince now. I'm going to be living like a king. You can go into the Koru Lounge. They've got free food, free drinks. You're more likely to get your seats upgraded. You get priority boarding. And I suspect you get put closer to the front of the plane as well, probably. So
yeah, it's good shit.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to because I'm getting pretty sick of getting squished into the back of the plane with all the other cheap asses.
Yeah,
cheap asses, smelly cheap asses up the back. The mouth breathing cheap asses up the back. So I'm excited about that.
Well, also the other big thing. So this is what I'm looking for in my sort of evolution of travel, right? So I feel like I've clocked it with this noise cancelling headphones thing and the aisle seat. Now, obviously, one day when I'm really rich, maybe it'll be business class for me. Have a little bit of extra room. I like that idea. But the other thing that you could mitigate with your Koru Lounge, if it was applicable to this journey, which it's not, but if it was, is the case of ganky balls, right, midway through your flight. Now, you see, no human being, right, can sit in a flight, doesn't matter what type of pants or shorts you're wearing, but no human being can sit for 30 hours and not get ganky balls.
Well, there's a trick, Guy, that I've got. Here's a travel tip for you. Take a spare pair of fucking undies. That's what I do. I take a spare pair of undies and I change them at one of my crossover. Which
is fine.
Undies and socks.
But it still doesn't really mitigate. The balls are still
themselves.
Still ripe.
Yeah, the balls themselves are still dirty.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so yes, you're putting a fresh layer over it, but it's not going to take long for the seepage of the ganky balls to really kind of saturate those new fresh undies.
Yeah.
And so this is really where you need the midway shower, the 15-hour shower. You know, as in at the 15-hour mark, that's when the balls have kind of really need attending to, and you need the shower at one of these lounges. So I really feel like becoming one of these members of one of these things is worth it just to go into their lounges to have one of their showers.
Well, the problem is I'm not flying with Air New Zealand. So what that means is that even if they have a lounge, even if Air New Zealand has a lounge in one of the places where I'm going, I'm not technically allowed in there unless I'm flying Air New Zealand. Being a member of the Koru Club doesn't mean I can just use it any time and use like I fly Jetstar but then pop into the into the lounge and use the shower and have a feed and all that. So unfortunately in this particular case that's not going to help me. I need to join the Emirates one now.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't really so obviously you can just be a Skywards member of Emirates, which is nothing, it's free. But you want that access to the lounge. Also, some of them allegedly you can just pay, like it's not necessarily heaps, like $50 or something, and they let you into the lounge even if you're not a member. And that's where if
you had a good feed and a couple of drinks and a shower, that'd be worth $50.
It absolutely would be. Otherwise it's going to be the old balls in the sink trick. Give them a rinse.
That old gem.
Give them a rinse.
Give them a rinse, and then just put on your same sweaty undies.
And a paper dab down.
And then put on your your undies back on. Sweaty undies back on, and then just swap socks. Just put one sock from one foot to the other foot, and then you're away.
No balls can withstand a 30-hour flight. It's statistically impossible.
Yeah, well, I think you might be right about all that, but it's all very exciting. So Madrid first for me, London first for you, and then we see what happens.
Yeah, we do see what happens. Like, will I get into Amsterdam?
And will we win? It's on the cards. You never know. I think, and I'm making the prediction now, that you have a decent chance of actually winning Best Oceanian Actor. I don't really think I'm actually in the running. I don't really think I have a very solid chance at all. I think you have an actual chance of winning Best Oceanian Actor for your performance in Older. I feel like me and my performance in Emmy the Vegan, slightly less likely to make it. But of course, I still a little part of me hopes.
Well, I think there's like 4 or 5 other nominees.
Yeah, but there's 8. I think there's 8.
Oh, there you go. I don't like those odds.
But as you mentioned, one of them's for a short film, and it's like, okay, they're not going to. Who's going to allow that? Who's going to win? Who's going to give the award to a person who acted in a short film over a person who acted in a feature film? Doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense, but
it's literally like a quarter of the work.
Stranger things have happened, or like more or less than a quarter of the work, like a tenth of the work.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the short film, but yeah.
But yeah, so to be honest, I feel like this is just a classic thing. Is like, we're going to travel all the way to these awards, and we're definitely not going to win, but we're going to do it.
Yeah,
but we did it. Yeah. We got out there. We did it. Exactly. We gave it our all. We gave it our best shot.
You got to live.
So that's my prediction is like we're going to be sitting there and obviously we'll be vlogging because I'm going to be doing some vlogging at the time. We'll be recording with a camera and it'll be like, and the winner is, and then it'll be someone else and we'll like pivot around and like go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Well, my plan was to live stream it. I want to live stream it from my phone for the listeners of the Guy and Harley podcast. Live stream it during the actual announcement, probably with my selfie stick, and it's you and me sitting there, and the winner is, and then hopefully it's you or me, and if not, well, that's still kind of funny for the viewers.
Yeah, it will be very funny.
Yeah,
People will enjoy other people's misery.
Yeah.
They really do.
No,
and as do I.
Me too. It's important.
So it's good to take pleasure from that. And you guys can take pleasure from ours. So we're here to help.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is going to be cool. I'm still waiting for my emergency travel e-visa to be approved. Sent it away last week. So currently I cannot get back into this country. Currently, that is not a possibility.
It's quite a risk.
Yeah, currently, there is no way that I can get back in the country. I also did get a notification that my actual real passport has been approved. Thanks a fucking lot, guys. Thanks a fucking lot. Because that is 100% going to become 2 days after I've gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you.
It's been approved. It's been sent. And guess what? It's arrived on Friday or something like that. So, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, on the live stream there, oops, I've lost it. But Aaron Falvey, shout out to Aaron Falvey, famous filmmaker from the South Island of New Zealand, top of the South filmmakers. He says that there's nothing like resting on a farty COVID seat. So, yeah, thank you. Shout out to Aaron for that. And Bevan suggested a hood, perhaps. You could wear a hood when you were resting your face on the farty cushion. So, yeah, these are good tips. These are good tips. I might actually do that. Bevan also says that statistically you're more likely to, according to Irene, his dear wife, who's also listening, shout out to Irene, that you're statistically safer in the back of the plane than the front of the plane. And I've heard that before. Makes sense, right? If you fly into a mountain, do you want to be at the front of the plane where it directly hits the mountain or the back of the plane? It seems like you're probably fucked either way, but you're slightly safer up the back.
It's just as long as you're not in one of those Boeing Dreamliner ones where they installed the fatal floor into them. That's the main thing. The one where it crashes you.
Yeah.
It just
it goes,
literally takes the controls away and crashes you. So thankfully we're not on either of those. So we've got to stay positive that we will remain alive. Because of that. Yes, well, I am in the back of the plane. Now, I have strategically booked seats where there are gaps.
Yeah, of course.
Thinking, of course, hoping that the gaps remain and I can rest my dear head on a farty seat. For a majority of my stay. But to be honest, I'm not sure that I will because, actually, to be honest, I found it quite easy to sleep when you can lie down on the plane. I didn't really have any issue with that on the, one of the 2 times that the plane was quite empty. But that could have been the 6 drinks I had prior to the snoozing.
Yeah. Could have been part of it.
When I've had to sleep upright regardless, it's always been pretty horrific.
Oh, it's horrible after a while. If you're doing a long flight, how can you can't sleep for 8 hours
like this,
sitting up. Yeah, you're all fucked and exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I'm at the back of the plane, so I'm safe.
Statistically. Shout out to Champa over Champa Pyros Tadkik. Tadkik, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. And Tyler Adams asks if it's too soon to be talking Obi Wan,
not too soon,
the series. But the thing is, he hasn't caught Stranger Things season 4 yet. So I guess you can't talk about that if you've seen it.
Oh, we're going to talk about them both.
All right. Well, just mind your ears, Tyler. I'm sorry about that. But I haven't seen either of them, so it's going to be a very one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
I've just been too busy. Just way too busy.
Obi Wan Kenobi, Ben Kenobi, a resident of these parts. So anyway, Obi Wan Kenobi is a sequel to the prequels and a prequel to the sequels.
Wait, say it again. It's a what now?
It's a sequel to the prequels.
To the prequels.
And a prequel to the sequels.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
And so basically it happens between the after Revenge of the Sith but before Star Wars A New Hope.
Yeah.
And it's all about Obi-Wan Kenobi essentially being a hermit in the desert where really, I mean, Jedis don't masturbate, but you have to imagine he's just sitting there jerking off all the time.
Well, I thought we've established that they do force hand jobs.
Well,
where you just lay back and give yourself a force hand job.
Well, I feel like
using
that's
your
an
mind.
abuse of the powers. But, the Jedi powers.
Yeah.
The Jedi don't have sex. They're
celibate.
Celibate.
That's how you get the force.
Well, that's how you become Anakin Skywalker. Is if you don't remain celibate. You start killing people or younglings and what have you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like Buddhist monks.
So obviously, I was like, "What the hell is this movie going to be?" Or it's a TV series. It's a limited TV series. It's like, what is this going to be about, really? What could this possibly be about? Yeah, he doesn't like sand either. What is this? Where are we going here?
Well, I guess you want to know what Obi Wan's been doing because I believe it might be on the show that you have said like, well, what the hell, Obi Wan? All of that happened, and then you just gave up and went and hid like on Tatooine for all those years, and Yoda as well went away and hid. And it was what's up with all that? And then obviously
waiting for the right time. Harley.
Obviously, this is going to explain what happened after all of that.
Yeah, and it
for
does.
Several decades, as Darth Vader did a lot of evil.
Yes, well, that's the thing. So we're going to see like young Darth Vader, young Darth Vader in his leather outfit. We're going to see. So essentially, Nocturnal says he likes how. Cheeky Princess Leia is. So Princess Leia is like a little girl.
In that.
Luke Skywalker is like 5 or something.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's just watching them. From both.
afar.
Watching them with the binoculars.
Yeah.
Just through the binoculars, watching young Luke Skywalker play in the sand dunes and what have you.
But he's watching Leia too. Isn't Leia on
Well, no, he has to go off on a mission to help Leia.
Okay.
I don't want to give too many spoilers.
All right.
He goes off on a mission to help Leia.
Yeah, but she's away on the planet,
away on Alderaan.
Alderaan, yeah, she's away on Alderaan.
Yeah. So anyway, the first 2 episodes have come out, not the whole series yet.
Okay.
And I do have to say that there was some kind of cool stuff in there with the Inquisitors, which are essentially Jedi that have turned bad to help kill all the other Jedis, which is a cool concept, right? That's a cool concept, and there's some cool back and forth there. But it's a classic sort of Netflix move, even though it's on Disney Plus, where they go, cool, where do we start this story? I know, we'll start it at the end of episode 2. Right at the very end, the last 1 minute of episode 2 will be where things get really interesting. Before all that, it's just filler.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what this is. It's fucking
establishment, mate. It's establishing the characters.
Okay, but we'll get it. Obi-Wan Kenobi's like hiding down the fucking thing. We get it. Okay, cool. And so then he's off on this mission, and then finally at the end of episode 2, we finally get 1 or 30 seconds of good shit, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. But all this other stuff, where he's reluctant to use the Force, just fucking get on with it. Whip out your lightsaber, start killing some guns. Just get on with it. Stop pretending like that's not gonna happen. Let's not pretend like, oh, we gotta be hiding. Yeah, you gotta hide Obi-Wan, but of course you gotta go off on some fantastical quests. So let's just get to the fantastical quests.
Yeah.
Let's not
with the sand people.
Yeah. So far, I would say that the first 2 episodes are considerably worse than, say, the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
In terms of like the fun of it.
Yeah.
But then that last 1 minute, you're like, oh shit, things just got real, son.
Well, that's how it works, man. They got to get the stakes up, and the way to do that is to have you kind of, you kind of like don't know what to expect, and then suddenly, bam. They hit you with something exciting. It was the same with Game of Thrones, right? It was like, it took me basically until the very last episode of the first season to be like, oh, okay, now I'm really into it. I was like, this is pretty good, all right, whatever. Last episode, all right, now I'm into it.
I feel like there was a lot more compelling stuff going on episode to episode in Game of Thrones than there was in this first 2 Obi-Wan. Tyler Adams says Flea was a surprise. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers makes a cameo.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting cameo.
Yeah, interesting cameo.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it was like, yeah, let's just see where this goes, but could you have gone there faster?
Yeah.
So it was quite fun to see, like, they did a recap right at the beginning of episode 1, which was all just phantom, prequel stuff leading up to where we got to, and I was like, that's kind of cool. I haven't really seen that. So yeah, the jury's out on Obi Wan, but it really better keep ramping up, because right now, yeah, I'm just not sure about it. Yeah.
Well, I have not seen it, and I will maybe try to see it at some point, but there's a long list of things I've got to finish on Netflix and a lot of stuff to do that real life stuff getting in the way. And speaking of real life stuff getting in the way, today I was, so a month or so ago, I was asked if I wanted to do an interview for a radio like it's a web series by a media company in New Zealand. If I wanted to do an interview about Pastafarianism and my faith in the flying spaghetti monster. And I, of course, said yes, not because I'm particularly involved in all of that, the flying spaghetti monster and the Pastafarianism and all of that stuff at the moment, but more because I was like, say yes to any sort of random opportunity that comes up if I've got time and it sounds fun, that sounds fine. So I did an audition kind of interview with them, and it went fine, but I was a little bit rusty. I hadn't really read up on my flying spaghetti monster lore in quite a long time, and, it was kind of a lowish priority project. But I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it, the interview, and then they're like, cool, well, we'd love to interview you for this series, do you want to, do that? It's unpaid. And I was like, yep, all right, yeah, sure, let's do that, in like a month or two. And they were like, so then it was meant to be today that I was going to do this interview. But here's the thing, a lot has changed in that month. Yeah. Suddenly I'm traveling internationally.
And you've become a Christian.
And I've become a devout Christian. Yeah, I'm no longer an atheist. I'm a theist.
Yeah, you've accepted the word of God.
Yeah, so I felt really bad. I had to cancel. No, so they wanted to do this interview, and I the thing is though that I've just been super busy. So lots of life admin all of a sudden dumped in my lap with this international travel situation. But then also, lots of work also came up all of a sudden. So I'm literally just working all day, every day, and I'm working mornings. I'm not really a morning person. If I could, I'm not really good with those early morning starts. So my alarm's for 5:45 a.m. now. That's
Grim.
Disgusting. That's disgusting at the moment. And so basically I've just been like really busy, haven't had any time or mental energy or headspace for this particular, project. And then it was meant to be happening today here in the studio. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, sweet as. I mean, it's not like it's any effort for me for this to, for them to come to here and do this interview with me. And then today they messaged, but I was not very motivated because I was feeling like I'm going to look like an idiot because I'm unprepared. And then they were messaged me today and they're like, hey, actually, we're having some car troubles. Can you come to us? Which, by the way, I think is total bullshit. I think really what happened was they set up the interviews and all the various people were coming in and being interviewed in one space. And they had told me that they would come to my house to do it. And then they were like, this is dumb. Why would we pack down the camera, travel across the frickin' city to go and get this one interview with this guy?
Who the fuck has car troubles?
In this day and age.
Let's just say hypothetically, everyone does have car troubles actually. But what I mean by that is, if you have car troubles, there is a whole crew that doesn't have car troubles.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's like, oh, we got car troubles seems really quite dubious.
Oh, it was totally dubious, especially because have you heard of Uber? Have you heard of this new thing that's come out? Uber. And so I was like, okay, I don't really believe them for a start. But also, I don't have time because we had the show today and all this other, stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. So I was going to have to rush home, rush home from work, get my colander, put it on my head, hoon out to wherever the hell they are, and then do the interview, and then come back and rush back and do the show, late. Because we were going to do the show later because of all these issues. And so, so I was like, look, listen, I don't really know about all that. I put it nicely, but I was like, yeah, look, and on top of that, it's not paid, So
yeah, where were you going to had to go to?
One Tree Hill, which is not super far, but I was in Mount Wellington, and I'd have to go home first. So I'd be going from Mount Wellington to home, and then from home to One Tree Hill. And I was like, okay, look, this all sounds like a bit much. much, and I'm not really prepped for it. So, you know, like, how important is this to you guys? And they were like, well, look, we could still come to you, actually, if you'd like. You know, we've just fixed the car. We've fixed it.
Working.
Oh, it turns out I just needed some petrol. It's all good.
It turns out I just needed to turn it on.
Yeah, the ignition. I found the ignition. And so they and then they're like, oh, we can just use your audition, which you did via Zoom, you know, like a month ago. And I was like, let's do that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go with that one. So basically, I'm still in this show, but instead of using my actual kind of probably much better performance, which I would have done, you know, today with better notes and all that, and having had a bit more time to think about it, instead they're just going to use my crappy audition from a month and a half ago. So that's good. So my face will be on that, looking like an idiot.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know.
Well, we
say yes and figure it out later.
We'll be following your career with great interest.
I have released my show reel that I mentioned last week as well, last episode as well. I mentioned that I've got the show reel. I've released that now on the YouTube. It's on the Pigville YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2. But I'm also going to upload it to Facebook before I leave so that I have something to promote with every single photo that I post in Amsterdam.
Nocturnal on the live stream says the car troubles are the cost of petrol. He's not wrong. The car trouble was that the budget was blown out by the likelihood of how much petrol would be spent getting to you from One Tree Hill.
I did see the other day that petrol was like $3.19. The cheap petrol was like $3.19 per litre.
Yeah.
So for the Americans, you know, you guys think you guys have got petrol problems. $3.19 for 1 litre. That's what we're doing. A litre is a quarter of a gallon, by the way. They don't know what a litre is over there, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I do have some good news. A big update on Operation Befriend Dominic Hoey.
Boy.
Long-term plan to befriend local New Zealand poet Dominic Hoey. He recently liked one of my Facebook posts. So... You know what that means, Guy? That means I'm still showing up in his news feed. That means that he has not unfollowed my posts.
Yeah.
He's just been ignoring them. So that's good. That's way better. So shout out to Dominic Hoey. I know you're watching. Yeah, he's a secret admirer of my work, I can tell.
Some people just not meant to be friends, you know?
Well, he's doing a writing course, another writing. I went to his writing course. Yeah. I creepily went to one of his writing courses.
You really DJ fades that whole thing.
No, his writing course was very good, thank you. I learnt a lot. And so he's doing another writing course, which I'd quite like to go to, but the timing doesn't work with all of this travel. So yeah, so this one I think sounds more like it's about script writing type things as opposed to poetry writing type things. Yeah. And I was like, okay, all right, well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I probably know more about that than you.
Maybe. He did write a short film that got into Show Me Shorts at one point, Show Me Shorts Film Festival like a few years ago, write and shoot a short film. So I guess he knows something about it, I guess. He's also written 2 novels, I think.
Oh, does he want a fucking medal?
Oh, good for you! At least 2. I bought one of them. I got him to sign it.
Did you read it?
No, I didn't read it. I'm just very supportive. I was like,
man,
I bought it.
You're like, this is like, what's that show on Netflix? You're that serial killer guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, speaking of serial killers, we should probably open up who's dead this week.
I was hoping you wouldn't do that because now I have to edit the intro in. Yeah. I've got no time. I've got to add it to my long list of things to do.
But unfortunately, someone did die this week.
Yeah, he did.
Do you know who do you think I'm talking about?
The guy from Casino or whatever movie that he was in. Casino? He was in Casino?
I don't know if he was in Casino. I actually don't think so. He was in Goodfellas.
That's the one.
Ray Liotta has passed away at the age of 67 in his sleep while shooting a film.
Sugar Ray.
So Ray Liotta is most famous for his sort of breakout role in Goodfellas, but has always sort of shown up in movies quite consistently and has always quite consistently been awesome in them. He was also in Narc. That was a good one. Then he was in that. It was just sad to see because when you watch Goodfellas, he's a young man. He's also in Field of Dreams and stuff like that. But you see, he's in the prime of his life.
He's also that famous meme.
Yeah.
He's that famous laughing meme. Everyone's having a big laugh, you know? Yeah.
Which I think is from Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Where he's laughing about the, am I funny? Do I look funny to you?
Yeah.
When that scene's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sadly passed away. But yeah, you see him in Goodfellas, and that's, I think, how we all sort of remember him and think of him. And then you're like, wait, what? He's 67? Wait, what? He's gone? What? This can't be real. Ray Liotta's Goodfellas, right? But super talented actor, had a really interesting career. I guess famous for playing psychos to some degree. Even though as Goodfellas, he was not the psycho. Joe Pesci was really the psycho. But certainly, intense psychos was kind of his bag. Even though allegedly he was like, it's weird because, I'm an actor. I've never been in a fight in my life. And these are the roles that I get offered. It's not really who I am. Which just goes to show how great an actor he was. But he always seemed to bring, an intensity and an authenticity to his roles. And, just gone a bit too young there for sure. So Ray Liotta, we fare thee well. We also didn't mention, never mind, because I forgot his name now.
Is he from? Can you tell us what he's from?
Well, the parrot from Aladdin.
Oh.
Jafar!
Yeah, the guy with the crazy voice. Yeah, I know.
He died a little while ago.
Yeah.
But we probably really should have mentioned him.
Yeah.
But it would also help if we remembered his name when mentioning him. He's a famous comic.
Yeah.
Someone will help us out on the live stream any minute with that one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, Jafar!
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
Famous. But allegedly also he put that voice on as a comic and became really successful and famous because he had that voice, which is not his real voice.
His actual voice.
And apparently there's a Howard Stern interview where you can listen to him start off with that voice and kind of go into his
Gilbert Gottfried?
That's the one, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah.
I just remembered.
No, well, Tyler Adams just remembered for you.
Oh, that was a coincidence. On the live stream.
Gilbert Gottfried also passed away, so we better put him in the in memoriam section here because that's a sad one too, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Iago, was that the name of the parrot?
That sounds right.
From Aladdin. Mm-hmm. He was brilliant in it. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Mm-hmm. And there's also a funny YouTube of him reading 50 Shades of Grey, which I encourage you to seek out if you haven't heard it from Gilbert Gottfried. So Ray Liotta, Gilbert Gottfried, rest in peace, my friends. You will be sorely missed. Amen.
Amen. Well, in other news, I was noticing that I was thinking about there was something I noticed about the modern world, and it's interesting, this generational difference between boomers and our generation, which is millennials. And then obviously there's probably a difference between ours and the
Gen Z.
and the Zoomers, as they're known as well. I'm sure there's plenty of
Zoomers.
I don't mind the Zoomers. I reckon I get it. I'm hip. I get it.
Yeah, try teaching them.
Yeah. Well,
Your patience will soon wear thin.
But it's not because of their generation,
Zoomers.
though. Specifically, it's because of their age.
I was going to say it wasn't. I was going to say it was more because of their complete and total apathy to working hard. But
Yeah, but that's exactly what the boomers said about the millennials and the Gen X. That's what the boomers said about Gen X. That's what Gen X said about the millennials, and then the millennials said about Gen Z.
Yeah. But what's happening is we're all working less hard.
Yeah, we're getting. Everyone's just giving
with
up.
These really hard working, hard graft.
Yeah.
Hey, fucking get out there. And now we've got. Oh, I don't want to work for you. Oh, the Great Resignation. I'm not working. I'm just going to collect the benefit incentive. Fucking stick it to the man.
Well, why would you? Why would you
work a shit job?
Why would you work a shit job
just to buy nice
some
things.
company?
Just to buy nice
some crap
things.
company that
To live comfortably and buy nice
doesn't give a
things.
fuck about you.
To live comfortably and buy nice things.
Yeah, but you can live uncomfortably and not buy nice things
and semi-miserable because of your conditions.
No, but
make a statement.
No, because I mean, look,
make a profound statement about the world.
You might be right. You might be right in our current situation. But if you think about it, if you go way back to the Paleolithic, right? You go all the way back there.
They were hard workers.
They were hard workers, absolutely.
They didn't,
but they didn't have
having...
much. Right? They didn't have much. They didn't have anything really. And what they did was they woke up in the morning with an empty belly, and then they went out and they found food to put in their belly.
Yeah.
And then if they were lucky, they found a mate. Yeah. And if they were lucky, they had a little bit of time to, I'm pretty sure they had quite a lot of time just to lie around and do nothing once they'd found a feed.
But the problem
I think they were happy and not depressed.
Yeah, but Harley.
They were dead by 20, but, I mean, apart from that.
Also,
life was short and good in the Paleolithic.
You also can't deny that they got to fucking work.
Apart from the violent death.
Up at the crack of dawn, foraging. They were fucking laying some seeds and shit.
No, you're thinking that's after the revolution, the agricultural revolution. There's no seeds. They weren't planting seeds in the Paleolithic.
Picking berries.
They were picking berries. But like think about this, right? If you look at wild animals, they're not constantly necessarily like always hunting. Like you look at lions, they're lying around all the time. The reason why is they get some food, they eat the food, they have the sex, they lie around for the rest of the day.
But there's the workers and the getting the food.
Getting the food, exactly. So it's like freelancing. It's not always there. It's not always there. And the difference is that after a few days in the Paleolithic with no food, you start running out of energy, and then you no longer have enough energy to get the food. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like freelancing, really. I'm a modern hunter-gatherer is really what I'm doing. But yeah, so anyway, back to kind of the...
Oh, my job sucks. I have to be a cleaner when I get out of school. I don't want to be a cleaner. I want to be something really cool. I've earned it. I'm special.
Well, they don't have to be a cleaner.
They can work at Burger King.
If they go to film school and or go to your course and learn how to be a filmmaker instead. But
McDonald's is an option.
So, but anyway, one thing I noticed, right, is that I remember, the boomers telling us, that video games were like a waste of time and that we shouldn't play video games, that it's a waste of time, that we should go outside and play, we should go outside, hunt and gather, and they were a waste of time. But what I've noticed is that virtually all of our jobs nowadays are basically extremely boring video games. You sit there with a computer and you kind of do some repetitive thing that is extremely easy compared to your old video game playing. But, it's just, you're using those video game skills, though, that you learned more than you're using the maths that you learned and the English and all that other stuff that you learned. You're more using your video game skills nowadays, especially in my job, at least. And I think as well with a lot of your jobs as well, there's an element of like using computers and cameras and so on that is really to do with, much closer aligned to video games than to algebra, for example. And then the Tokyo Olympics, right? I was putting the graphics on the Olympics, and I remember sitting there at one point and I was like, this is like an extremely dull video game, an extremely slow, extremely dull video game where when we reach a certain point, I have to press this button and this button combined with that button, and then the thing goes up and does the thing on the screen, and then I've won, I've successfully achieved my goal, my objective.
Of making $40 per hour.
At the Olympics, I made more than that. Thousands per hour, pretty much. And so Yeah, so the point is that these graphics these jobs that we're doing are like actually much more closer aligned to the skills we learned in the video games. And then I was watching, because we might as well open Walk right now as well. I was watching the war in Ukraine, and that's all documented now in a way that other wars haven't been documented. Even like modern kind of wars have not been documented in the same way that the Ukrainian war has been. And I was looking at it and I was like, man, this is just like fucking Call of Duty. This is like Call of Duty. Like you see the first person perspective, like, guns, people shooting stuff, and then also like first person perspective from within a tank, first person perspective from within a plane. And I was like, wow, this is actually like literally exactly looks a lot like the video games. I'm sure it's much scarier than the video games, but obviously like the skills, the basic skills seem to be kind of similar in a lot of ways. A lot of things you learn seem quite similar. And I was like, yeah, that's very interesting. And yeah, so basically like take that, Dad. Take that,
But I mean, none of them said working hard's a waste of time.
Who said that? Who didn't say that?
The boomers.
No.
Which is kind of...
But they said the video games were a waste of time. But the video games is where the skills came from to do these things.
But the Zoomers
are
saying working hard for other people.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other issue unrelated to the video games. But like also you see a lot of the drones that are flying in Ukraine, right? And so you're seeing it from a top-down video game real-time strategy type perspective, and you're seeing it in real time, and you're using strategies. So it's a real-time strategy in real life, and you're viewing the war from the perspective of a drone and then deciding what to do and telling the soldiers where to go. So you're telling the soldiers where to go. You're also shooting things at people that you can't see and who can't see you in real life, only via the thing. So it's like Ender's Game has like become reality in many ways, or it's becoming reality.
It's true.
Yeah, so it's just interesting.
Well, I did watch Top Gun Maverick last night, the sequel to a film from 30 years ago. They decided it was time for a sequel. They decided that 30 years later is the perfect time to capitalize on the buzz and the excitement of the original film. So they made a sequel, but one of the sort of lines in it was sort of like, you passed it, Maverick. The world's moved on. We don't put pilots in planes anymore. We fly them remotely. And I was like, shit, that's a good damn point.
Yeah.
Video games.
Yeah. Well, also with video games, I've noticed a very similar thing in skateboarding, which is that skateboarding has been massively. I still watch skateboarding videos, and I've seen it's been greatly influenced by Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And all the other ones, basically, because now they're doing tricks upon tricks upon tricks. It'll be a trick onto a rail, and then a trick while they're on the rail, landing again on the rail, and then a trick out of the rail, and then you land in manual. Just the type of shit that you used to do on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, they're actually doing it in real life now. And it makes sense, because if you're a kid, and if you're a little kid and you grow up playing that game, you have perhaps a slightly different way of looking at obstacles in real life, skating obstacles in real life that we wouldn't have even thought of when we were that age. You go, no, there's no way. It'd be impossible to do that. Sometimes you see people doing a board slide on like a square rail, like a rail with a hard right angle, like a 90-degree angle, where basically they're sliding one way and then they turn a full 90 degrees on a square rail and go the other way, and then land it somehow. And it's like, in our day, you would go, oh, it's a shame. This spot has a lovely run up and a great landing. It's a shame about that horrible 90-degree angle. It's literally impossible to do anything on this rail now. But the kids these days don't know that because they're Tony Hawk.
Fucking Tony Hawk. Also, speaking of Tony Hawk, I did listen to a really interesting interview with Tony Hawk where he sort of talked about kind of exactly what you're talking about, except like the idea, he's still skating now.
Yeah.
But the idea that essentially he invented, along with his friends, a new type of skating that didn't exist. There was a different type of skating, which was all around pools and stuff like that, which was reinvented from another type of skating. And then he came along and invented this new type of skating, and which was all, half pipes and ramps and sort of, but like different tricks as well, completely different style of skating. And he said that all the old skaters looked down on him and his crew for doing this style of skating. Like, this isn't true skating. This isn't the... And he says now he looks at the new skaters, not disparagingly, but he sees that they've taken that and evolved it in a different way. He also said that he was pretty much like broke as a professional skateboarder until Tony Hawk, the game.
Right.
So essentially he would go and do and skate exhibitions,
Yeah.
and he would do like appearances and do tricks at appearances and shit like that. But the money of a pro skater was nothing, right? You didn't until he was licensed for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and his whole life changed. And he also said that the skateboarding sort of blew back up, so it was sort of like had waned, it wasn't popular, wasn't cool to do until Back to the Future. And because there was skating in Back to the Future, everyone was like, oh, skating's cool, let me try skateboarding again. And so there was this huge resurgence around that, and that's what he sort of was part of, that resurgence. So a little bit of skateboarding history for you there.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's quite ironic that a lot of the skills that our generation learned from video games are the exact same skills that boomers are struggling with and are not able to be employed because of, you know, like their lack of computer literacy and so on is the exact thing that's holding them back. And it's the exact same thing that they told us was like a waste of time. So, yeah, take that. Take that. Take that, boomers.
I mean, I don't really think it's appropriate to revel in someone's
Unemployedness.
lack of education and opportunity.
Well, it's more just like we were right all along. We were right to sit there and play Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil
beating
2.
summoning Knights of the Round materia and beating Emerald and Ruby weapon and Final Fantasy VII led us to this point.
Exactly.
Okay, grinding for hundreds of hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doing chocobo races led us to this very point. This is responsible for all our success. Beating Emerald and Ruby weapon.
Well, yeah. I'm sure it contributed. It did, because it was about budgeting, you know, figuring out, you know, like upskilling and all that type of thing. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. RPGs, RTS, real-time strategies, those are great, especially if you want to go fight in the Ukraine. I remember I was playing Desert Strike. It was called Desert Strike. I don't know if you remember this. It was on Mega Drive, and it was a helicopter game, top-down helicopter game, not like a shoot-'em-up arcade one.
On Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But it's not a shoot-'em-up arcade game, right? It's a walk-around, like, rescue POWs, and, you know, like, you'd winch people up, and, you know, you had objectives, and it was...
I fucking hated that game.
It was super difficult. It was really difficult.
It was a bastard, that game.
Yeah, it was super difficult. And I was
so
like...
unfair.
It was like you died very easily and you failed very easily. And I remember I'd hired it several times, and from the video store, I'd hired it several times, and I'd been stuck on this level for a long time. And this one particular day, it's the weekend, you know, and I was like, I just want to, you know, chill out and play some video games. And so I was playing this game, and I had gotten further than I'd ever gotten before. And I knew that I was near the end of the mission. I was just about to finish this mission. I had gotten further. I'd passed the part that had always beaten me. And basically, I just needed to, like, make it home, you know? And so I was laser focused on, like, okay, I'm almost here. I've actually almost done this. I've spent money on this. I've spent multiple times. I've spent my pocket money on this, hiring this game. And I'm finally here. And then my dad came in and was like, go outside and play. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like you've been in here all day. It's the weekend. You need to go like outside and, you know, do nothing outside. And I was like, oh, well, you know, like, no, like, you know, like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I've been at school all week. I'm outside all fucking week. I'm playing at lunchtime. I'm playing with like other kids all fucking week. What are you talking about? What do you mean I have to go outside and play? You know, it's the weekend. I want to chill. I'm not telling you to go do stuff. You work all week. I'm not telling you what to do on the weekend, you know? And then, so I was like, well, obviously I argued with him, and then I can't remember if he switched it off or if he yanked out the cartridge. It was one or the other, and he just yanked it out, you know, and that was it. And that, to this day, in 2022, is still the furthest I got in that game. I never completed it.
And were you like, no, Dad?
Yeah,
Oh
basically.
my God, this is so unfair.
Yes, I was irate. I'm still talking about it 20-something years later.
Deep scars.
30 years later.
Deep
You know?
scars.
And I guess that's kind
Deep
of the,
scars of Desert Strike.
I guess that's kind of the root of I guess that's kind of the root of this this point about the boomers not knowing that video games,
Desert Strike,
and the Ukrainian war, and all the other things associated, all the other video game skills that I'm using in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, like jumping out of the car and punching prostitutes over.
Yeah.
And then jumping back in and running down a group of innocent pedestrians.
To be fair, that was quite a few years later. Those games came in a few years later, you know, as did the street crimes. Yeah.
Leisure Suit Larry.
What was that one? I forgot that one.
That was the one where the aim of the game is basically to like sleep with women.
Okay. I think I remember hearing the stink they kicked up about it.
Yeah, scandal.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, look, funny story, just quickly, about video, not video games, but digital related. You know, we did talk about the hilarious story of where I was showing my students a bunch of thumbnails when I was remote teaching. I'm like, so you can see this, you can see this, and then we came to a screen grab of you.
Yeah.
Presume what seemed to be completely naked, shirtless, and just like posed.
That
in
doesn't
like
sound like me.
a hideously obese fashion, and I'd taken the screen grab to embarrass you and send to you at a later time. Because, you know, essentially we were doing a Skype test for the podcast. You weren't wearing a top, so you just had your hairy body out, and it had frozen. So the Skype had frozen on this freeze frame of you looking really hairy and fat. And obviously there was also no, like, so, you know, because it was like a mid shot, it's kind of seemed like you could be naked. And so as I was scrolling through the thumbnails of what I was actually teaching the class, this thumbnail emerged of you naked. So I was like, hey, you can see this here.
I was actually naked, guy.
Well, either way, it certainly
You had no way of knowing.
Certainly seemed that way to my class. So, and then I shared that image of you, and then I was like, oh, whoopsie daisy. Hey, just funny thing. Whoops, you didn't.
Don't get me fired.
Yeah, and I was like, look, there's no way for me to explain the context of all of this to these people. They will simply, by assumption, assume that I like fat, hairy,
hairy men. Yeah, hairy.
And that's what I'm attracted to, and I've taken the screen grab to masturbate to later on.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only logical conclusion anyone could come to without this context that I've given on this podcast.
And there's no point denying it.
So there's no point denying it. There's no point in me getting into that.
Even denying it just makes you look more guilty.
If I go, no, that's my friend, and I took a screen grab because I want to embarrass. Oh, yeah, sure you did, mate. Fucking sure you did. So anyway, you know, it's always good when you sort of publicly embarrass yourself in front of all your students. And so I did this again the last week. So I was showing people podcast logos, right? And I was like, so... we're creating a podcast logo here. You want your podcast logo to be catchy. We want it to describe whatever it is your podcast is about, et cetera, et cetera. You want to do all these things. And so let's have a look at some podcast logos, right? I just want you to have a look. So let's just quickly go onto my Spotify. We'll go onto my Spotify and we'll have a look at some of the logos here. And I was like, so I brought up my Spotify and I was like, yep, so as you can see up here, you know, there's some wrestling podcast here and there's another podcast here and there was this thing. And then I hear sir, what's that one down the bottom? And I was like, well, that one down the bottom is, and it was a playlist. And the playlist was called Fucking. And on the playlist was a lady bent over with stockings on, and it had the little glish emoji. As well.
Little the squirting emoji.
Yeah,
the squirting emoji.
And it was just called fucking, and then it was like music to have sex to or something like that. Basically.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like.
And at that moment, I'd lost them because all they could do is see my fucking playlist.
And so that's what you labeled it as.
No, that's what it was called.
So it wasn't your playlist.
So I had been playing that playlist
when you were fucking.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. But you hadn't created that one.
I hadn't created it specifically.
You were just like, all right,
on the internet.
It's business time, and so you just typed into Spotify
tunes, some love-making tunes.
What did you type into Spotify to find that though? Did you type in tunes for fucking to?
Who knows?
And it just came up like this thing.
I can't remember.
And you're like, that looks like the one.
But basically, it was like something like that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so all my students saw that.
Yeah.
And I was like, There's really no coming back from this in terms of teaching the class.
Yeah.
But I just have to press on and go, look. So I was like, thank you, guys. Thank you. Can we just bring the laughter down? Thank you very much. Yes. Your teacher,
yes, I have sex too, you know.
Your lecturer likes to have sex to this music, all right? Yeah. Okay? He loves having sex to this style of music, okay?
Yeah.
Look, if you actually listen to some of the songs, they're really quite good. Okay, look, if you actually listen to the songs, there's nothing explicit in them. It can just be romantic songs, okay? There's just some romantic songs in here. There's some Rihanna. You guys know Rihanna, right? Okay, so let's just, all right, yes, your lecturer has sex too. Thank you, let's bring it all down. Thank you very much.
Bump, chicka, wow.
And that was the second incident where I had been,
shamed in front of your students for your.
I do remember.
The trick is to have a computer for work and a computer for play.
Yeah.
Now, one for work, one for play. This is my work computer.
I also remember a classic story from intermediate school where there was these sex education ones, right? And basically, in one of these sex education ones, one of the teachers, who was probably a guy in his mid to late 20s, right? He's not an old guy at all, but to us, he seemed old. He was fucking old as fuck, right? Yeah. And at some point, it got onto the topic of masturbation. And he made the cardinal sin of going, yes, I masturbate.
Yeah.
Everyone does this. Yeah. This is normal.
It's normal.
But to a group of 11 and 12-year-olds, he also happened to be sadly called Mr. Peacock. Right? You know, so the combination of those two things simply led to the whole class
ruined his career.
And going, Mr. Peacock. Oh, Mr. Peacock. And he'd lost them. He couldn't get him back after the admission. He just could not get him back. Yeah. And sadly, this
he was fired soon after. He was
just trying to educate us. He was just trying to be. He made the mistake
of acknowledging that he's human
and acknowledging his humanity in class. And to a group of 10, 11-year-olds, that is not acceptable.
No.
You will be punished for that.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Peacock.
For the rest of his career.
For the rest of the time, we were all like, Mr. Peacock is gross and disgusting and touches himself.
Yeah.
Even
though you then frantically ran home and touched yourself. Or ran to the bathroom and touched yourself.
But here's the thing. I guess it was on the cusp of those types of things happening.
Yeah.
So for some people, it was like, this came too early, as in, like, some of them weren't doing that. A lot of them wouldn't have gone through puberty or anything. So by saying this, you're just really admitting to being a gross, disgusting human being, a depraved human being that you don't understand, that this group of kids doesn't really understand yet. So
a couple of years later, though.
Half a liver.
Now I get it.
Oh, Mr. Peacock was right.
Dear Mr. Peacock, I just wanted to apologize for all the times I teased you about masturbating, because now I masturbate all the time.
Dear Mr. Peacock, I'm sorry for making the jerking off motion in your direction whenever I saw you, I would like to now confess that I too jerk off. And I see that you were simply trying to help us through this difficult time in our young lives.
Well, on Mr. Peacock masturbating, we'll give a couple of shout outs, couple more things here for people on the live stream, and then we'll get the hell out of here because I think it's dinner time.
It sure is.
And I've got this working in the morning business ahead of me, which I'm not acclimatized to.
Me too.
And a lot of stuff to do. So Nocturnal says that the military uses statistics from Call of Duty and so on to work out probabilities for military exercises and that they're great simulators for building skills. See, I told you, Dad! If you'd let me finish Desert Strike, where would I be now? I would have made it, Dad! And then Tyler Adams says, speaking of Ender's Game, if you like Ho Harley, Ho Ender, if you like Ender's Game, there's a VR game that's a lot like the battle room for Ender's Game. It's called Echo Arena.
Cool.
Do you refer to the movie, the quite crap movie, Tyler, or do you refer to the quite good books?
Of course, not the quite crap movie.
Well, I hope not.
No one would fondly remember that.
Well, I hope not. And Jezahausen, shout out to Jezahausen, good man that he is. He says that when he had COVID, he had no attention span, so he spent a lot of time playing dumb games on Roblox. I almost invested in Roblox, and then the stock went flying upwards, and I was like, shit, I should have invested in that. But then now it's all way the fuck down, so it's lucky that I didn't. But he says if he ever needs to run a laundromat, then he's completely sorted now, because he learnt on Roblox. And Tyler Adams is referring to the books, not to the shitty movie. The shitty, disappointing movie. Which I did like that it had a Kiwi connection, though. The mouldy Kiwi connection was
played
cool.
by a British guy.
But it was bullshit that they didn't hire a Kiwi to play that role.
Played by a white British guy.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. What are you doing? Like, how can you not get a mouldy guy to play a mouldy guy? It's fucking silly.
Tim Morrison is standing by.
Exactly.
He's literally on call.
And he would have been good for the role.
Pick up the damn phone.
He would have been good for the role as well. He would have done a good job.
Yeah.
So, ridiculous. Well, on that note, we had better get the hell out of here.
So, hopefully for everyone listening, we will see you all in Amsterdam. Because this is the final podcast before we jet away. You on Wednesday, me on Thursday. So
if anyone wants to give me a ride to the airport, just slide into my DMs.
Yep. If anyone wants to contribute, we desperately need money to cover the expenses that are rapidly mounting up.
Patreon.com/Pigville. That's the place where you can support us. You can give us $1 a week if you want to. You can also make a one-off donation in the description down below. There are various links. That helps us as well because you can make a one-off donation. Say you give us $10 and say it's for beers for the next episode. Perfect. That's perfect. You can do that. You will be the official sponsor of the next episode, so don't be shy. It's down below. It's called Buy Us a Beer. So click on that, and that really helps. And then also, there's all of our movies are down there as well. The links, well, not all of them, but the links to watch some of our movies are down below. So go and check out Older and Emmy the Vegan. That also helps us financially as well.
Will we solve the case of the Ganky Bulls 15 hours into our flight, or will we simply persevere and continue on?
I'm going to take a pair of spare undies, pair of spare socks, and my Ugg boots, and I would love to...
Okay, so let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You put the decimated underwear into your carry-on.
Into my no, I use it for a pillow, so I don't have to put my face on the farty COVID
you've got nowhere
cushions.
really else to put it except in your carry-on, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I've got a pair, the suitcase, this yellow suitcase, and it's got kind of a separate compartment, and that separate compartment is where I put my shoes and my dirty undies. Now, the only problem is I need to discreetly put them in the plane, or discreetly put them in when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
But yes, I do put them into my carry-on, but, into a separate compartment.
Another hot travel tip. You've only got two choices if you're going traveling, if you're a guy, in terms of what you wear.
Yeah.
Baggy trackies.
Yeah.
or shorts?
Yeah, so you're saying I shouldn't wear my tight black jeans.
Your skinny jeans
My skinny
are gonna
jeans.
essentially accelerate the ganky balls by at least 5 hours.
Well, the problem is that my track pants really look like shitty, manky old track pants. I've had them for 8 years. They're slightly broken, and if they are literally my pajamas. I combine them with my UGG boots.
Yeah. Comedically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
No.
But I guess that doesn't really matter because you're just on a plane.
Exactly.
And walking in several airports in multiple countries in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So I guess it doesn't really matter. They're strangers, though, so nobody cares what strangers think. That's why we do this podcast.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So Mazer Rackham was the name of that Māori character played by a non-Māori.
Played by Sir Ben Kingsley.
A shout out to Joanna Sequa. She says, have fun in Amsterdam, guys. We will, I assure you. I'll tell you all about it. And that might be about it. That might be about the end of the episode.
So if this is our last podcast, because one of us dies in a fiery wreck, or some
won't be me. It won't be you because you're at the back of the plane. So you're going to be sweet
some
as.
other accident befalls us on our travels. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and we will do a live stream, hopefully, of the awards night announcement. So keep an eye out. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you get notifications so that when we go live, because there might not be a lot of warning and it might be at a strange time of day, we don't know. But we will go live for the actual announcement, hopefully, of who wins this acting award in Amsterdam for the Septimius Awards. And also, of course, we'll do a show from Amsterdam as well. Possibly, are you now, look, you're not a big weed smoker guy.
Yeah.
I am a big weed smoker. And I also like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Are you intending to indulge in some of those things?
Yeah.
You're going to eat some edibles, or are you going to like smoke a doobie, or what's your plan?
Smoke a doobie, or have some brownies or what have you. Yeah. For sure. Why not? When in Rome.
When in Rome. When in Rome. Would you have the mushrooms in Rome? Have you had mushrooms before?
No.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. The answer, but
maybe a mild one. Maybe because
a very mild one.
This is the great thing about legalizing these drugs is that they can then sell you one and tell you exactly how much of the active ingredient is in it.
Microdose.
So they can be like, yeah, cool. You just have this one, man. That you'll barely even feel it. You'll just get a little tingle up your spine. Or have this one, Harley, and you'll be fucked up. And we can just you can choose which one you want. That's the great thing. That's why prohibition is bullshit. So yeah, all right. Well, I'll see. We'll see. We'll see if you do that. But it's quite possible that on the next podcast, there could have been some edibles consumed. So tune in for that. So we will see you next episode on the Guy and Harley podcast live from Amsterdam.